Hello guys, welcome to 6-7 your daily political update. This is me Sanjay Bhargav. Let's get started. Let's get into the first news of the day. West Bengal politics is heating up. Mamata Banerjee says BJP is targeting not just her party but also her election strategy agency IPAC. What's really going on? IPAC, the political consultancy firm once founded by Prashant Kishore, is under heavy scrutiny in West Bengal after the Enforcement Directorate arrested its director Vinesh Chandel in connection with the alleged Bengal coal scam. The raids and arrest have forced IPAC to pause operations in Bengal, sparking Mamata Banerjee's claim that BJP is targeting both her party, Trinamool Congress, and its election strategy agency to weaken her ahead of polls. Let me explain you what actually happened to IPAC. ED arrest. Vinesh Chandel, co-founder and director of IPAC, was arrested in April 2026 for alleged money laundering linked to coal smuggling in Bengal. Raids. ED raided multiple IPAC offices in Kolkata, Delhi, Bengaluru, and Hyderabad, including the residence of director Pratik Jain. Operations paused. Following these raids, IPAC suspended its Bengal operations, directly affecting Trinamool Congress election campaign. Let's discuss about the Bengal coal scam. The coal scam refers to large-scale illegal coal mining and smuggling in Bengal. ED alleges that proceeds from this scam were laundered through various channels, and some links point towards individuals associated with IPAC. Critics argue ED is prosecuting on mere suspicion without clear evidence, raising questions about whether this is politically motivated. Is ED acting on doubt? Supporters of Trinamool Congress say ED is acting on weak grounds, targeting Bengal selectively to destabilize Mamata Banerjee's government. ED's stance is they claim to have financial trails linking coal smuggling to money laundering networks, hence the arrest. The constitutional and legal framework governing the IPAC issue in Bengal rests on the powers of the central investigative agencies like the Enforcement Directorate and the Central Bureau of Investigation. These agencies derive authority from specific statutes, but their use in opposition ruled states raises debates about federalism, autonomy, and political neutrality. Let's talk about the Enforcement Directorate. The legal basis is that the Enforcement Directorate operates under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 and Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. The powers of the Enforcement Directorate are it can investigate financial crimes, attach properties, and arrest individuals suspected of laundering money. Controversy is that critics argue Enforcement Directorate often acts on suspicion rather than conclusive proof, especially in politically sensitive cases. Let's talk about the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI). The legal basis is that CBI powers come from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. It investigates corruption, fraud, and special crimes, and its jurisdiction is CBS requires state government consent to operate within a state except when ordered by courts. This is a key federal safeguard. Debate is that Supreme Court rulings have repeatedly stressed that CBI must remain independent and not be used as a political tool. Let's understand the constitutional framework governing this issue. Article 14 says equality before the law, that agencies must act impartially. Article 21 is right to life and personal liberty. Arrest must follow due process. Article 50 says about separation of judiciary from the executive, ensures checks on investigative powers. Federalism principle. Law and order is a state subject under the constitution, so central agencies must respect state autonomy. Let's see the precedents. Several states like West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh have withdrawn general consent for CBI, citing misuse by the center. In cases like Vinith Narayan versus Union of India 1997, the Supreme Court emphasized autonomy of investigative agencies. Similar patterns of ED CBI action before elections have been seen in Maharashtra NCP leaders, Delhi Aam Aadmi Party ministers, and Jharkhand CM Hemant Soren. Here is the BJP strategy against Trinamool Congress. Legal pressure. ED or CBI probes into coal, cattle, and school job scams. Narrative building. BJP frames Trinamool Congress as corrupt and authoritarian. Booth level strategy. Amit Shah's Bengal playbook focuses on micro targeting voters, especially in tribal belts and border districts. Campaign disruption. Targeting IPAC, Trinamool Congress strategy engine to weaken its organizational strength. Let's see what is the role of the Prashant Kishore in IPAC and in this issue. Prashant Kishore founded IPAC but exited in 2021. His firm continues to manage Trinamool Congress campaigns, though Kishore himself is not directly involved now. His legacy remains in IPAC's data-driven election strategies, which BJP sees as a major threat. Let's see what is Pratik Jain issue in this Bengal coal scam case. ED raided ED raided the Kolkata residence of Pratik Jain, another IPAC director, as part of the coal scam probe. Jain, along with other executives, has been summoned for questioning, further tightening the news around IPAC. Key suggestions to counter Key suggestions from my side to counter authoritarian tactics by the central government agencies. Legal defense strengthens court challenges to ensure ED CBI actions are evidence based. Transparency publicly disclose party finances and campaign operations to counter allegations. Federal safeguards push for reforms limiting central agency overreach in opposition states. Public narrative frame raids as attacks on democracy, not just on Trinamool Congress, to rally wider support. Coalition building coordinate with other opposition parties facing similar probes to resist collectively. As Bengal heads to polls, the battle is not just on the ground, but also in the courts and agencies. The question remains, is this justice or politics? Let's get into the next news of the day. India's elections are not just about rallies and votes, they are about rules. When leaders break the model code of conduct, the question is, should it remain just guidelines or become a strict law? The current issue is PM Modi and 136th Amendment Bill. All India Congress Committee member Anil Akara and CPIM Marxist General Secretary M.A. Baby complained to Election Commission of India that Prime Minister Modi violated Model Code of Conduct by using the national broadcaster Doordarshan for campaigning about opposition defeating the 136th Constitutional Amendment Bill 2026. Model Code of Conduct prohibits speeches that misrepresent parliamentary processes or unfairly influence voters at the elections time. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 324 of the Constitution says that it gives the Election Commission of India power to supervise elections. And the Model Code of Conduct, which is issued by the Election Commission of India, comes into force from the date elections are announced until results are declared. The nature is Model Code of Conduct is not a law, only guidelines. Legal backing is that violations can be punished indirectly under Representation of People's Act 1951, such as bribery, false statements, misuse of government machinery, etc. Indian Penal Code. Let's understand the role of Doordarshan in this issue. Doordarshan and All India Radio, as public broadcasters, they are bound by the Model Code of Conduct, and the rules are: government media cannot give undue coverage to ruling party leaders during Model Code of Conduct. Any broadcast of government achievements must be stopped. Equal time must be given to opposition parties if political content is aired. And the president is Election Commission of India has previously directed Doordarshan to stop airing government ads or speeches during Model Code of Conduct to prevent misuse of state media. Let's see the president. During 2023 assembly elections, Raitu Bandhu payment dispersal during the Model Code of Conduct. And the case is then TPCC President Revant Reddy moved Election Commission of India against CM KCR for disbursing Raitu Bandhu funds during elections. And the Election Commission of India's action is that it suspended dispersal until elections ended. And the lesson we can learn is welfare schemes timed during elections can be treated as moral code of conduct violations. Let's see how judiciary can prevent violations. Courts can issue stay orders against schemes or speeches violating model code of conduct. And the judicial review ensures Election Commission of India's directions are Court has upheld Election Commission of India's authority to stop misuse of state machinery. Let's see how Election Commission can prevent violations. Deploy observers, surveillance teams and orders, stop welfare dispersals, ban campaign speeches, censure leaders, and the punishments. Disqualification of candidates under Representation of People's Act. Suspension from campaigning for a fixed period. Cancellation of nomination if bribery or corruption is proven. Criminal prosecution for hate speech, communal appeals or bribery. Let's see what loophole parties exploit. First thing, indirect announcements, hinting at future schemes without formal declaration. Party funds, distributing benefits through party channels instead of government. Framing achievements, presenting schemes as past work rather than new promises. Grey area, Model Code of Conduct is not legally binding, so punishment depends on Election Commission of India's discretion. And this is my personal proposal, making a Model Code of Conduct a strict law. For this, which will strengthen the democracy, Model Code of Conduct should be converted into statutory law under the Representation of People's Act. And the key proposals are codification. Model Code of Conduct provisions should be written into law with clear penalties. Independent tribunal, a fast-track election tribunal to hear Model Code of Conduct violation cases within 7 days. And automatic penalties. For the first violation, warning plus fine. For the second violation, suspension from campaigning. And for the serious violation, such as bribery, hate speech, misuse of Doordarshan or All India radios, leads to disqualification or nomination cancellation. And the transparency is mandatory public disclosure of Election Commission of India's rulings on Model Code of Conduct violations. And the judicial oversight, Supreme Court or High Courts to review Election Commission of India's decisions to prevent misuse. If the Model Code of Conduct becomes law, leaders will no longer bend the rules with loopholes. They will face real consequences. Only then can India's elections, from Doordarshan broadcasts to campaign speeches, truly be fair, free, fair, and democratic. Today we discuss a bold, controversial step by the Himachal Pradesh government, deferring 30% salaries of top officials for 6 months. The Himachal Pradesh Congress government under CM Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu has deferred 30% of salaries of top officials for 6 months to tackle it. While legally permissible as a deferment, not cancellation, critics argue it risks violating the constitutional right to livelihood if prolonged. The BJP has slammed the move as a proof of financial mismanagement. The Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act 2003 stresses fiscal discipline and transparency, offering lessons for both Himachal and Haryana governments. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 21, which says right to life, includes the right to livelihood. Salary stoppage can be challenged if it affects survival. Article 14, equality before the law. Deferment must apply fairly, not selectively. Let's understand the Supreme Court judgment about this issue. State of Punjab versus Jagjit Singh 2017. Supreme Court rule, equal pay for equal work. Salaries are not a privilege but a right. In the state of Karnataka versus Uma Devi 2006, the court ruled regular employees have enforceable rights to wages. In the municipal consolidation Ratlam versus Worthy Chand 1980 court rule, government cannot escape financial obligations citing lack of funds. Thus, temporary deferment is legally possible, but non-payment or indefinite delay violates fundamental rights. Let's understand what does the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act 2003 say about this issue. It mandates fiscal responsibility, transparency, and debt management. And the targets it reduce fiscal deficit, eliminate revenue deficit, ensure intergenerational equity. It requires the governments to publish medium-term fiscal policy statements and adhere to borrowing limits. Himachal Pradesh deferment shows failure to meet fiscal responsibility budget management principles, highlighting the need for structural reforms. Political criticism arising about this issue. BJP state leadership accused Congress government of fiscal emergency and poor planning. It claimed the move reflects failure to manage debt 1 lakh crore and dependence on central grants. It warned of bureaucratic demoralization and possible litigation by affected officers. Suggestions from my side for Haryana's fiscal health. Though the issue is in Himachal, Haryana faces similar fiscal stress. Key recommendations are enhance revenue, expand GST compliance, improve property tax collection, control expenditure by rationalizing subsidies, reduce administrative overheads. Debt management, limit borrowings, restructure high interest loans. Public private partnerships, boost infrastructure without burdening state finances. Agriculture and industry reforms, diversify economy, reduce dependence on central transfers. This episode reminds us that fiscal discipline is not just about balancing budgets, it's about protecting livelihoods, ensuring long term stability. Let's get into the next news. Ajit Pawar's tragic plane crash has shaken Maharashtra politics, and now a zero FIR has become the central piece of CID probe. Ajit Pawar's tragic plane crash in Baramati on January 28, 2026 has triggered a CID probe that now incorporates a zero FIR filed by Rohit Pawar. The constitutional framework ensures accountability through police powers under Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, judicial oversight, and Supreme Court precedents on fair investigation. The BJP has demanded a CBI probe alleging a foul play. Zero FIR is a crucial tool that allows complaints to be filed anywhere, ensuring no delay in justice. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 21, Right to Life, protects citizen safety. Failure to investigate accidents properly can violate this right. Article 14, Equality before the law. Investigations must be impartial regardless of political stature. Police powers under Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita 2023 FIRs, including zero FIR, are recognized under Section 173, ensuring jurisdictional flexibility. Let's see about the Supreme Court judgments regarding this issue. Lalita Kumari versus Government of Uttar Pradesh 2014 court ruled mandatory registration of FIRs to prevent denial of justice. In the case of CBI versus Anupam J. Kulkarni 1992, the court ruled it emphasized fair investigation of the part of Article 21. In the case of Vineet Narayan versus Union of India 1997, the court stressed independence of investigative agencies. Let's understand how Ajit Pawar plane crash has happened and its probe. The incident was Learjet 45 carrying Deputy CM Ajit Pawar crashed in Baramati, killing him and 4 others. CID probe is Maharashtra CID is investigating, factoring a zero FIR alleging conspiracy and negligence. And the political fallout is BJP criticism. Devendra Fadnavis requested Union Home Minister Amit Shah for CBI probe, citing doubts about transparency. NCP SP stand. Rohit Pawar insists zero FIR ensures accountability and prevents power-ups. Let's understand what is zero FIR. And the definition of zero FIR is that a complaint registered at any police station, even if the crime occurred elsewhere, marked as zero and transferred to the correct jurisdiction. Purpose is that it prevents delay, harassment, and denial of justice. Let's understand the types of FIRs in India. Regular FIR, which is filed in the jurisdiction where the crime occurred. Zero FIR, which can be filed anywhere, transferred later to their jurisdiction. Let's see what Supreme Court and investigating a jurisdiction over this issue. Supreme Court has repeatedly held that independent, timely investigation is part of fundamental rights. In aviation accidents, probes are governed by Aircraft Accident Investment Bureau under Director General of Civil Aviation, but courts can order judicial monitoring if doubts arise. Key takeaways from this issue: Ajit Pawar's death has legal, political, and constitutional dimensions. Zero FIR ensures no jurisdictional barrier to justice. Supreme Court's precedents demand impartiality and urgency in probes. BJP demands a CBI probe while CID continues investigation. In India, great leaders often lack safety, but justice marks must not lack speed. The zero FIR in Ajit Pawar's case is more than paperwork. It is test of whether our system can deliver truth without delay. Let's get into the next news of the day. We discuss the heartbreaking Virudnagar fireworks factory explosion in Tamil Nadu, where 23 workers lost their lives. 23 workers were killed in devastating explosion at a fireworks factory near Virudnagar, Tamil Nadu. This tragedy raises urgent questions about workplace safety, justice for victims, and accountability of both government and factory owners. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 21 Right to Life says that every worker has the right to live with dignity and safety. Factories Act 1948, which mandates safe working conditions, inspections, and protective measures. Explosives Act 1884 and Explosives Rules 2008 strictly regulate fireworks manufacturing, licensing, and safety standards. Let's see the Supreme Court judgments regarding this issue. In the Consumer Education and Research Centre versus Union of India 1995, the court ruled the right to health and safety is part of Article 21. In the Lalit Kumari versus Government of UP, FIRs must be registered promptly to ensure accountability in accidents. Let's understand how justice for victims is ensured. Tamil Nadu government announces compensation packages for families of deceased and injured workers. Madras High Court can order judicial monitoring of investigation, ensure fair compensation, and hold factory owners criminally liable. And the Supreme Court can intervene if compensation or investigation is inadequate, ensuring victims' rights are protected nationwide. And how much compensation is being awarded to victims? Families of deceased workers usually receive rupees 5 to 10 lakh from the Chief Minister Relief Fund. Injured workers receive 1 to 3 lakh rupees depending on severity. Additional support may come from Prime Minister's National Relief Fund if the centre steps in. Key suggestions from my side for upholding justice to the victims involved in the accidents: strict enforcement of safety laws, regular inspections under the Factories Act and explosive rules, transparent investigations, judicial monitoring by Madras High Court to prevent cover-ups, timely compensation, fast disbursement from CM Relief Fund and PM National Relief Fund, criminal accountability, prosecute factory owners for negligence under IPC sections on culpable homicide, rehabilitation programs, skill training and alternate employment for survivors and victim families, public trust measures, transparent reporting, memorial funds, and long term welfare schemes for affected communities. The Virudnagar blast is not just an accident, it is a call for stronger laws, safe workplaces, and leaders who stand by the victims. Justice must not be delayed because every family matters. Let's get into next news. Today we decode why the All India Congress Committee has barred Kerala leaders from discussing the Chief Minister candidate and how national parties handle this sensitive issue. The AICC has issued a decree against discussion on the Chief Minister candidate in Kerala, creating unease in states unit. This is A classic example how national parties manage leadership questions differently from regional parties. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. No constitutional rule on CM selection before elections. Article 164 of the Constitution says that governor appoints the CM who must prove majority in the assembly. Political party rules. Internal constitutions of parties govern how candidates are chosen. Supreme Court judgments regarding this issue are in the case of S.R. Bommai versus Union of India 1994, majority must be tested on the floor of the House. In the Rameshwar Prasad versus Union of India 2006, governor cannot prejudge who should be CM. Let's understand who decides the CM candidate for both national and regional parties. For the national parties, Congress, BJP, etc., the parliamentary board or high command decides. State units may recommend names, but the final call rests with the central leadership. Example is in Congress, All India Congress Committee and Congress Working Committee hold authority. Regional parties like DMK, Trinamool Congress, BRS, etc., the party president or core committee decides. Often, the leader of the party is automatically projected as CM face. Example, in DMK, MK Stalin was declared CM candidate well before elections. Let's understand why national parties avoid declaring CM faces before elections. Unity strategy. It prevents factional fights within the state units. Flexibility. Allow leadership to choose based on post-poll arithmetic. Centralized control. Keeps authority with the high command. Kerala context is that All India Congress Committee decade avoids infighting between factions loyal to different leaders. Let, let's understand negotiations and portfolios for CM post. During the 2023 assembly elections, Congress won, but factions debated choice between Revant Reddy and other contenders. High Command intervened, balancing portfolios to appease rival groups. Kerala, if UDF wins, All India Congress Committee will decide CM phase post poll. Portfolios will be negotiated to balance factions. Example, Kerala Pradesh Congress Committee leaders versus sitting MPs. Let's understand how parties convince leaders. Portfolios as bargaining chips. Finance, home, revenue given to strong factions. Deputy CM post used to balance caste, community, or factional equations. Governor's role. Only formal appoints CM chosen by majority party or coalition. In politics, the CM chair is not just about one leader. It is about balancing factions, respecting constitutional rules, and proving majority. That is why All India Congress Committee Dikkat in Kerala is more than a strategy. It is about keeping the party united until the people will give their verdict. Let's get into the next news of the day. We decode the constitutional deadlock in Telangana. Can a minister stay in power without facing the people, and how far can the governor's discretion go? The Telangana governor has delayed clearing MLC nomination of Professor M. Kodanram and Minister Mohammad Adadin, creating a constitutional deadlock. Azaruddin must become a legislator within 6 months to continue as a minister. The governor holds discretion under Article 171, but critics argue this power is being misused to stall democratic processes. Let's understand the constitutional legal framework governing the issue. Article 164, Class 4 of the Constitution allows a non-legislator to be appointed as minister, but they must become a member of either house within 6 months. Governor's quota and legislative councils. Article 171, Class 3, Class E allows the governor to nominate persons with special knowledge in literature, science, art, cooperative movement, or social service. Governor's discretion. While the cabinet recommends names, the governor is not bound to accept them immediately. This discretionary power is controversial when used to delay or reject nominations. Governor's power and role of the president. Governor's power is that governor can withhold approval, but prolonged delay raises questions of constitutional propriety. President role here is that the governor acts as the representative of the president, but in practice, the president does not directly intervene in state nominations unless a constitutional crisis arises. The central government intervention in these appointments is the central government cannot directly approve or reject nominations, but political pressure can influence governors who are appointed by the president on the advice of the union government. Let's understand the democratic concerns regarding this issue. Bypassing elections. A nominated MLC avoids facing voters in raising fairness concerns. Critics argue this undermines electoral competition and democratic accountability. Supreme Court stance is that the court has previously held that governors must act on cabinet advice in most matters, but ambiguity remains in discretionary powers over nominations. And the deadline for Azharuddin, that is, the 6 months ministerial deadline, is end of April 2026. If his nomination is not cleared, he must resign. Let's understand the opposition criticism in Telangana. Opposition parties accuse the Congress government of misusing the governor's quota to secure ministerial positions without elections. BRS leaders argue this is a backdoor entry into power, violating the spirit of democracy. BJP has criticized the Congress for pressurizing the governor, calling it an attempt to bypass constitutional checks. Key suggestions from my side to uphold democracy in the crucial times. Limit governors' discretion. Amend rules to ensure governors cannot indefinitely delay cabinet approved nominations. Strengthen transparency. Publish clear criteria for governors' quota nominations. Judicial oversight. Supreme Court should set timelines for governors to act on cabinet advice. Electoral fairness. Encourage ministers to contest elections rather than rely on nominations. Public accountability. Civil society and media must highlight the misuse of discretionary powers. As the Supreme Court watches and democracy demands fairness, the question remains, should nominated seats be a great way to power, or must every leader can earn legitimacy through the people's vote? Let's get into the next news of the day. We bring you the story of India's potato farmers caught between rising costs and falling prices, and asking if government support is enough. Farmers in Uttar Pradesh are protesting the centre's potato procurement price of rupees 6.5 kg, saying it is less than half their input cost of rupees 12 per kg. The Union Agriculture Ministry has approved procurement under the Market Intervention Scheme, but the farmers argue that only a price of 15 rupees per kg ensures profit. This highlights the larger debate on MSP, debt cycles, and fair farm incomes. Let's understand the constitutional and legal frameworks governing this issue. Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 38 and Article 43 mandates the state to ensure social and economic justice, including fair wages for farmers. Essential Commodities Act 1955 allows government intervention in farm produce markets. MSP policy. Though not a constitutional right, MSP is a government assurance to prevent distressed sales. Market intervention schemes used for perishable crops like potatoes where price crashes. Let's understand the MSP and government policies targeted towards empowering farmers. MSP effectiveness. MSP works well for wheat and rice but is weak for vegetables like potatoes, which lack assured procurement. Shivraj Singh Chauhan's Bhugantar Yojana Madhya Pradesh, which compensates farmers when market price falls below MSP. Farmers demand nationwide implementation like PM Kisan. Raitu Bandhu in Telangana, direct cash transfers support before sowing helps farmers avoid debt traps. Bonus policy for paddy. Some states offer extra payment above MSP to reduce farmers' losses, for example, in Telangana. Let's understand the Supreme Court's take on this issue. The court has repeatedly emphasized farmers' right to fair remuneration under Article 21, right to life. It has asked governments to ensure MSP implementation is not symbolic but practical. In debt related cases, the court has warned against exploitative moneylender practices. Let's understand the economic cycle of loss. Low prices leads to losses, leads to debt, leads to higher interest rates, leads to further loans. This cycle perpetuates poverty and dependence on moneylenders. Farmers argue that without strong MSP enforcement, they remain vulnerable. Let's understand the alternative solutions. Selling to franchisees and hotels. Farmers can form cooperatives to directly supply potatoes for fast food chains, hotels, and supermarkets at higher negotiated rates. Biofuel diversion. Surplus potatoes can be processed into ethanol for blended petrol, reducing waste and creating new revenue streams. Price regulation. The Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices under the Agriculture Ministry recommends MSPs, but vegetables like potatoes are not fully covered. Let's understand the farmers and opposition's criticism. That is, farmers unions say the center rupees 6.5 per kg price is anti-farmer and does not cover cost. Opposition parties accuse the government of ignoring its promise to double farmers' income by 2022. Critics demand the transparent cost calculations and the farmer representation in price setting bodies. The key suggestions from my side for upholding justice for farmers, such as nationwide Bhugantar Yojana to compensate farmers for price crashes, promote farmer cooperatives for direct sales to retail chains, encourage ethanol production from surplus potatoes, index minimum support price to inflation to ensure sustainable prices for both buyers and sellers, set procurement deadlines to prevent delays in government intervention, legalize minimum support price to make it binding, expand minimum support price coverage to vegetables and perishable crops, introduce price insurance schemes to protect against market crashes, encourage direct farmer to industry contracts with pre-decided prices, promote ethanol production from surplus potatoes, ensure transparent cost calculations and farmers' representation in price setting bodies. As farmers demand stability and dignity, the real test for India's democracy is clear. Will policies move from promises to protection, ensuring fair prices for those who feed the nation? Bring you the tragic story of stampedes from Vijay Karur's rally to Allu Arjun's Pushpa 2 premiere, where negligence turned celebrations into disaster. The Karur stampede at Vijay's TVK rally in September 2025 killed 41 people, while the Pushpa 2 promotional event in Hyderabad in December 2024 led to one death and several injuries. In both cases, compensation was announced, but questions of accountability remain. Vijay has not been jailed because liability in stampede deaths is treated as negligence, not intentional crime. And Allu Arjun has been named in the charge sheet but not convicted yet. Let's understand the Karur Stampede Vijay's TVK rally. Date and place September 27, 2025 to Tamil Nadu. The casualties included 41 deaths plus 60 injured, and the cause is overcrowding, poor barricading, and inadequate police arrangements. And the compensation is TVK announced rupees 20 lakh per victim's family. Some families accepted and others rejected, demanding Vijay's personal accountability. Legal status is that CBI summoned Vijay for questioning. He is not jailed because stampede deaths are treated as negligence unless direct evidence of deliberate misconduct is found. Hyderabad Stampede Allu Arjun Pushpa 2 event. Date and place December 2024 Sandhya Theatre Hyderabad RTC Crossroads. The casualties are one woman died or her son critically injured. The cause is overcrowding at the film premiere despite prior warnings. Legal action is that Hyderabad police filed a charge sheet naming 23 accused, including Allu Arjun, his staff, theatre management, and bouncers, citing negligence and crowd mismanagement. The case is now in trial phase. The Who provides justice. Investigations are led by police or CBI, monitored by courts. Why Vijay is not jailed? Criminal liability requires proof of intent or gross negligence. Courts usually held hold organizers and authorities jointly responsible. Let's understand the Supreme Court's precedents. The court has stressed that organizers must ensure safety, but liability is shared between event managers and administration. Let's understand the public criticism around this issue. Families of victims accuse leaders and stars of escaping accountability by offering compensation instead of facing trial. Opposition parties in Tamil Nadu demand stricter laws for political rallies. Critics argue that celebrity and political influence delay justice to the victims. Suggestions from my side for upholding democracy and safety. Mandatory safety audits for rallies and film events. Legal accountability for organizers, not just compensation. Crowd management training for police and volunteers. Judicial timelines for investigation and relief distribution. Public transparency in inquiry reports. As families demand justice and accountability, the question remains: should leaders and stars walk free after stampede deaths, or must democracy ensure that safety comes before stardom and power? Leaving you on that note, thank you for watching.